In this video, I want to share my experience with a product that genuinely impressed me, the Flydigi Vader 5 Pro. Before I get into it, one disclaimer. I'm not a professional reviewer. This isn't going to end with a score out of 10 or a breakdown of polling rates against 3 competitors. I'm just a casual adult gamer, and I mean that genuinely, not in the way people say it right before admitting they play 6 hours a day. For me, gaming happens in the gaps. I don't play much these days, life doesn't really leave room for it. After a long day, when the to-do list finally goes quiet and the laptop closes, there's a window, sometimes an hour, sometimes less, where I sit down, pick up a controller, and the rest of it stops existing for a while. Every now and then, if I'm lucky, that window stretches into a few uninterrupted hours, and those sessions feel almost rare enough to savor. That's my gaming time. It's not a lot, but that's exactly why it matters. When the time is limited, the quality of it counts for more, not less. The last thing I want in that hour is to feel like I'm fighting the hardware instead of enjoying the game. So, when something actually elevates that experience, makes those short sessions feel noticeably better, I want to talk about it. That's what this is, an honest account of a controller that turned out to be far better than I expected. First, a bit of context, because where you're coming from shapes how you judge anything new. My controller history goes back further than I care to admit. From the PS1 in the original Xbox through the PS3, Xbox 360 and PS4, all the way to the Xbox Series X. 3 decades of gaming split between consoles and PC. Because even during the console years, there was always a PC in the background. Sometimes it was the main platform, sometimes it was just there for certain games, but it was always there. So across all of that time, I've lived with almost every major controller that PlayStation and Xbox have put out, plus plenty of sessions on keyboard and mouse in between. Most recently, after I sold my Series X console, I kept what I had been my second controller, a trusty Xbox One pad that I originally used only for local multiplayer and friend sessions. While I actually had the console, I was using the original Series X controller, so this Xbox One pad was simply what remained after I sold it, and that became my main controller for PC gaming. Through all of that history, I consistently found Xbox controllers to be the most ergonomically natural for my hands. The asymmetric stick layout, the weight distribution, the button sizing, everything about the Xbox design language just worked for me personally. I genuinely love that Xbox One controller. Simple, reliable, completely familiar. Then one day the buttons started going. Not dramatically, just quietly, the way things die when they have been used enough. Press would register, then wouldn't, then would again. You know the feeling. So I needed a replacement, and this is where it got interesting, because I didn't just want a straight swap. The obvious move would have been another Xbox controller. I seriously looked at the Elite Series 2, the premium option with paddles and adjustable tension. From everything I'd read and watched, it seemed like a serious piece of kit. But I'd never personally used one, so I couldn't tell you whether it's worth the price. Only that the price gave me pause. $179 is a significant ask. So I did what I always do, fell down a YouTube rabbit hole at midnight. That's when Flydigi started appearing. Consistently positive reviews, a manufacturer making controllers since 2008, and one specific model coming up again and again as a genuine alternative to elite-tier controllers at half the cost. The Vader 5 Pro at around $79 to $89. I was skeptical. Third-party hardware has a reputation that's sometimes earned and sometimes completely unfair. But the reviews were specific and consistent enough that I decided to take the chance. I bought the combo package: controller, charging dock, carrying bag, and additional thumbsticks. 3 months later, here's what I think. Before talking about how it feels to play, I have to talk about how it looks, because this is one of the first things that genuinely surprised me. Third-party controllers usually fall into one of two traps. They either look cheap, or they go way too hard on that aggressive, hyperactive gaming aesthetic with logos everywhere and neon panels screaming at you. The Vader 5 Pro avoids both completely. The body is clean matte black, The rubber grips on the sides are dark brown that looks genuinely premium. The rings around the thumbsticks have a matte bronze finish that catches the light without being flashy. And the RGB is a single curved light strip along the bottom edge of the face, not plastered across the whole shell, just one tasteful line that changes color based on what the controller is doing. It pulses when charging, flashes when searching for connection, and settles into a calm multicolor glow when you're connected and ready to play. It looks like a grown-up piece of technology. It looks good on a desk. That actually matters. And the daily experience is just as frictionless as the aesthetics suggest. You take the controller off the dock, press the center button, it powers on and connects to your PC instantly. No pairing loops, no delays. It behaves exactly like a native Xbox controller. There are 3 ways to connect: an USB-C cable for wired play, Bluetooth, or a small 2.4G wireless dongle that plugs into your PC's USB port. I use the dongle exclusively, and in 3 months of almost daily use, I have not experienced a single dropout or moment of noticeable lag. Completely invisible, which is exactly what wireless should be. And you don't need to install any software to start playing. It works as pure plug-and-play device from the first second. One thing I appreciate about the hardware itself, there's a small physical switch on the back of the controller that determines your connection mode. Slide it one way for the wireless dongle, the other for Bluetooth. It's a tactile hardware decision rather than a menu option, which fits the overall philosophy of this controller. As much as possible is physical and immediate rather than buried in software. And worth mentioning for anyone who plays on multiple platforms that same back switch covers more than just PC. The Vader 5 Pro works natively across PC, Nintendo Switch, Android and iOS devices without any additional setup. Ergonomics is everything to me in a controller, and this is where the Vader 5 Pro genuinely delivered. The layout follows the Xbox template exactly. Asymmetric sticks, same button positioning, same general proportions. Flydigi made no attempt to reinvent anything here, and that was the right call. Xbox got this formula right. There's no reason to abandon it for the sake of looking original. But there's the thing that genuinely caught me off guard. When I went from my Xbox One controller to an Xbox Series X controller a few years ago, I felt almost no difference. They are so similar, the upgrade barely registered. Going from the Xbox One to the Vader 5 Pro, that felt like a proper generational leap. The face buttons use mechanical micro switches rather than the silicone membranes in standard controllers. Every press has a precise, satisfying click, real tactile feedback that tells your fingers the input registered. Compare that to the slightly spongy, vague feeling of a standard controller button and there's simply no competition. Weight sits at around 288 grams, almost identical to an Xbox One controller with batteries. Instantly familiar, but the balance across your palms is noticeably better. I have never once felt hand fatigue during a session. The vibration is a genuine upgrade. I play third-person games specifically because good haptic feedback deepens immersion for me. The Vader 5 Pro has 4 motors, 2 in the grips and 2 in the triggers themselves. That trigger haptic is something you don't realize you've been missing until you have it. When you draw a weapon in RDR2, land a hit in Cyberpunk, or break hard in racing game, you feel it in your fingertips, not just your palms. It adds a physical layer that I didn't expect to notice as much as I do. Once you are deep in a game, the controller disappears completely. You stop feeling the plastic, the weight, the buttons. You just feel like you have seamless control. That's the best thing you can say about any controller. Now let's talk about the extra buttons. Because there are 10 of them beyond the standard Xbox layout, scattered across the controller in various configurations. On the back there are 4 paddle-style slots, but 2 of those paddles are removable. I found them in the packaging, got genuinely excited, snapped them on, held the controller for about 5 seconds, said absolutely not to myself and put them straight back in the box. I'm a casual gamer. I play to unwind after a long day, not to perform a complex concerto on the back of a controller. Maybe some demanding game will eventually make me fish them out of the closet, but for now they can stay in their cardboard home. The other two permanent rear buttons sit closer to the center of the back shell. Small flat buttons right where your fingertips naturally rest. They don't get in the way, they don't cause accidental presses, and I don't use them for gameplay either. But these two specifically have become more personal anti-stress device. I click them constantly during loading screens and shader compilation. There's something about the mechanical click of those buttons under your fingertips that is disproportionately satisfying. If you ever absent-mindedly click the pad for 20 minutes in a meeting, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Then there are two extra mini shoulder buttons next to the main bumpers, and two additional face buttons, C and Z, below the main action buttons on the front. Two more small buttons sit right on the upper back edge of the controller, the ones closest to you when you're holding it. They're flat and discrete, similar in feel to a Start or Options button. These are Turbo button and the FN button. The FN button handles macro recording and profile switching. Again, something I've never touched. The Turbo button I completely ignored until I sat down to write this. It lets you set any button to automatic rapid fire up to 30 presses from a single hold. No use for it personally, but for certain game genres that's actually a meaningful feature. And like almost everything on this controller, it works without opening any software at all. I know what some of you are thinking. Why buy a controller like this if you're not using half of what it offers? Fair question. I wasn't looking for a spaceship. I wanted a durable controller with great ergonomics, Hall effect sticks that won't drift, and excellent vibration, at a price that didn't feel like a gamble. And here's the thing, it isn't even that much of a gamble. This is a controller loaded with extras, yet it costs only about $20 more than a standard Xbox controller. That's not a premium markup for a niche product, that's barely a premium at all. The extra features are a bonus I didn't need, not the reason I bought it. And for anyone who does want to go deep, 8 remappable buttons is an extraordinary amount of potential. Two physical features deserve a specific mention because they're genuinely impressive at this price point. The first is the FORCEFLEX joystick system, Flydigi's patented design that combines Hall effect sensors with a physical tension ring at the base of each stick. You twist it to change how much resistance the stick pushes back against your thumb, anywhere from very light to quite firm. I have mine cranked all the way to maximum. It feels more planted, more precise, like the stick is genuinely working with you. Hall effect technology also means no drift ever. Trigger lock, a physical switch that shortens trigger travel to a short crisp click rather than a full analog pull. Useful for shooters. I have mine unlocked for full analog range, but flicking them on and off just to feel the difference is genuinely its own small pleasure. Flydigi has a companion PC application called Space Station. I have only opened it a few times just to see the options and explore what was in there. Mostly my interaction with it boiled down to finding the vibration intensity settings, dragging the grip motor slider all the way to 100% maximum, applying it and closing it. That was pretty much the extent of my software experience with this controller in 3 months. But I want to be fair to what's actually in there, because it's genuinely deep if you want it. Full button remapping, 4 onboard profile slots, joystick curve adjustment, gyroscope calibration, trigger dead zone tuning, RGB lighting controls, firmware updates. The charging dock even has its own configuration section. If you enjoy tuning your hardware down to fine details, there's real depth there. If you just want to pick it up and play, you can ignore all of it entirely. Both experiences are fully and equally supported. The charging dock is a small thing, but it's earned a real place in my routine. I haven't thought about controller battery once in 3 months. No AA batteries, no cable dropped across the desk, no low battery warning mid-game. I finish a session, put the controller on the dock, pick it up when I want to play. Always charged. That entire category of minor friction has simply ceased to exist, and I genuinely didn't realize how much it had annoyed me until it was gone. And together on the desk, the dock and the controller just look right. Clean, restrained, genuinely premium. The kind of thing that doesn't need to announce itself. The battery itself is 1000 mAh and charges fully in about 2 hours. So even on the rare occasion you forget to dock it, you're never waiting long. So where does this leave me 3 months in? Honestly, better off than I expected. I didn't go looking for a controller that could do everything. I went looking for one that would just work. Good ergonomics, sticks that wouldn't drift, vibration that actually felt satisfying, and a price that wouldn't sting if I was wrong about it. What I got was all of that, plus a dock I didn't know I needed and a software suite deep enough for people who want to disappear into it, without ever once making me feel like I had to. That's the part that actually impressed me. It reminds me of driving a BMW through the city. You're not flooring it, you're not testing what the engine can really do. You're just commuting, enjoying a smooth and dynamic ride. But you know that underneath you there's a beast waiting that the car could transform the moment you actually hit the gas. That's exactly how this controller feels. I mostly stick to the main features, the ones I actually bought it for, and it still never holds that back from me. The depth is simply there, waiting, and somehow just knowing it exists make the everyday experience better. For the kind of gamer I am, someone with an hour here, occasionally a few hours there, who just wants the time to feel good, I don't think I could recommend it more easily. Honestly, it's good enough that I'd recommend it to my best friend without a second thought. And if you're someone who wants to go deeper, tune every curve, build custom profiles, it's ready for that too, whenever you are. Either way, you're not overpaying for potential you'll never touch. You're just getting a genuinely well-made controller. That's it. That's the review. Now I'm curious, did you enjoy this kind of review? The storytelling style, walking through it chapter by chapter instead of just straight spec rundown? Let me know in the comments. I'd genuinely like to hear it. And either way, I'll see you in the next one.